Overcoming discouragement and disappointment in your calling. Hi everyone, it's Maria Momela. Thank you for joining me. Let's talk about the calling. The funny thing about being called is we don't get to choose what you are called for. It's like the talents we are given, or it's the talents we are born with. We do not really choose, like, do I want to be artistic or do I want to be more in academics? Like, we never really get to choose. We're just born with what we are born with. We've just been dealt the cards we've been dealt with. But now, what happens now when you've heard God telling you to start something, and yet that something is not moving or is not running the way you thought it would run? Especially if you have had similar things or other things you have tried or have started and they seem to be running well without a problem. But now, when you start this God thing for the first time, you're faced with these glitches and hurdles and it's just hard to just get things moving and you're just wondering, like, what is this? What is this? Is the enemy's tactic also at this time to be throwing suggestions in your head, like, did you even hear correctly from the Lord? And you know what you heard, and you know what you heard. You know what they say, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going, and you will never win if you quit. So it's just a matter of just trying and pushing, taking it one step at a time. It can get discouraging, it can get disappointing, but it's always good to sit back and just think about the whole thing and just think everything through, and remember that it is God that has called you. It's amazing that even when the enemy wanted to tempt Eve, when the enemy wanted to get Eve out of God's will, he said, did God really say? Did God really say you must not eat from that tree? Did he really say that? And that's what happens with us when you get to that point of discouragement or disappointment. And the enemy is like, but did God even call you to this? Are you sure you heard correctly? Maybe there was a lot going on in your life and you misread, you misinterpreted. And the funny thing being, you know what you heard. You know what you heard. And I feel that there are two things that should keep us going, or there are two things that keep me going. First, I remember what God said to me. I remember what God said. And when God gives you a vision, a dream, whatever that He's put in your heart, He did not promise that it's going to He did not promise that the journey would be smooth. He did not promise that. So God gave the vision, God gave the dream, God gave the mission. So it's up to us to just go on with it, or to just be discouraged and just allow the enemy to beat us down. Because when we're tired, it's okay to take a break, take a breather, but we have to get up. We have to get up. There are two things that keep me going. The first being what God told me. I remind myself what God told me, and I have a habit of writing things down. So I'm always able to go back and to actually read. I remember even the words God gave me prior for me leaving. I'm relocating. And the Lord said, do not be afraid. I am with you. Do not be afraid. Be courageous. I'm with you. Those are the words which were so repeated, okay? And I have those words in my prophetic journal. That was like the first page of my prophetic journal. And I did not know that was the beginning of this new transformation and my growth in God, okay? And so I hold on to those words because I've written them in black and white. So if I do doubt, I do go back on the words and I remind myself what God told me word for word. Okay? The second thing that keeps me going, that keeps me holding on, is remembering what God means to me. Remembering what God means to me. I've always prayed and I was like, Father, I feel I feel like too much time has passed and I haven't done anything for you. I understand the calling upon my life, but you have never, um, you have even life itself has never accommodated or helped me to know how to put things together. Okay, because at that time I used to be focused thinking that my ministry to the Lord is specifically tied up to just the ministry to do with the church and everything. And I was excluding, in my ignorance, other things outside of that, because ministry is broad. It's not just the church, it's not just the people of God, it's not just the the reading of the word, the teaching, the prophecy. It's not just that. A marriage is a ministry. Volunteering is ministry. Your career, your job, that is your ministry. So it's amazing how we can be focused on one thing, because I was feeling like time is going. I even said, but the Lord started his ministry in his early 30s. Like, like time is running. Like, I also want to get started with my ministry, because I have one problem. When I go to heaven, I don't want to be embarrassed in front of the Father. I want to be able to say like what I did with my life. So there was just that stress and the push against time. Like girl, what did you do with your life, with the revelations and everything God has given you? What did you do with it? you know so I remember what God told me. Second of all, I remember what he means to me. Those are two things that just keep me going, that just keeps me going. And there are many people whom God has called to the platform and to the YouTube platform or to the social platform. But for whatever reason, the channel might not be picking up the way you thought it would. In your childlike I don't want to call it childlike ignorance. In your childlike belief, you thought if you came in on YouTube, you'd be like, well, this is what happened. Like, God said this. And you thought that was just going to be enough to just get things rolling. And then you realize, but it's not always those are not even the videos that get a lot of views. And I used to think that people would be gravitating more toward the actual words that I had to got that I actually got from the Lord, that I had to write down so I get to speak word for word. Those are the words, those are the videos I thought people would love. But it's been the absolute opposite. So it's been quite a shocker for me. So I have been learning myself, like, wow, but I need to do my job. It's not my job um, to be thrusting things down people's throat, or to try to flash things on people's faces. Okay. Um, yeah. So it's been quite a journey, and it's amazing how I have grown in the Lord just by being in the channel. That is not just about me sharing the word and what the Lord has put in my heart to share, but it also has been quite a journey for me, like to learn and to think on my feet, because I'd be speaking and then the Lord would tell me to add on something, and sometimes it can be like a shocker, you know like with my giftings. Like, I can be speaking to someone. It's through speaking with someone that things get revealed. And it's like I didn't think those things, so when they come, even I get shocked, and I have to keep a straight face as I come to the knowledge of those things and the revelation of those things. And I've had to I've learned to handle it while speaking to a person. But on video, it's been quite hard, because I think it's because I'm like, I don't know, because it's a video, yeah, it's different. So it's just a matter of just learning how to keep a straight face, and in the midst of the shock and revelation. But sometimes I do pause, like, oh wow, I know it may sound strange, like a person can speak and pause and be like, oh wow. But in the Christian faith, like, the believers are used to that and understand that God knows how to drop things in between words that can shock us. And the kind of things which, when you're done with the video, you want to go to the word and begin studying further as the Lord begins to branch further onto that. Okay. So yeah, so discouragement is real. Discouragement is real. Disappointment is real. But you need to know, like, why you started that. And you remind yourself, like, God is the one that called me. The enemy has got no problem of making you feel like you're confused. The enemy can put you amidst other people and make you doubt that even God called you. But God called you. God called you. And be careful. You might end up, you might later realized that the people whom even the enemy was comparing you to are not even of the Lord. They are not even of the Lord. That is why you need to just speak out what God has told you to speak out, and to also follow out the instructions that God give us, because that's another thing we can overlook and try to reason out. Okay, it's one thing I battle with every once in a while, but I'm learning to overcome the instructions of the Lord. Like, in plain English, they can be weird and strange and don't make sense, and it's just hard. It's just hard. It's just hard to do them. But I always say, like, it's better to just be a fool for the Lord. We don't mind being a fool for love, but we have a problem being a fool for God. That is wrong. So just to encourage someone, if you're feeling discouraged in whatever God has called you to, either be your YouTube platform, your ministry, your business, whatever you're trying to start off the ground, it might be moving, but not at the pace that you're used to. And it's sad, especially if you know, like, I'm a hard worker, I'm disciplined, I'm this, I'm that. And then you come with your experience and you put everything together and nothing is moving as fast as it should, and you're wondering, like, what on earth is this? Keep praying over the work of your hands. Keep praying over the things that God has called you to. Keep praying and trusting in the Lord to bless the work of your hands. Okay, so just do your best and just leave the rest to God. Yes, discouragement is real. Yes, discouragement is real. Disappointment is real. Let us be like an eagle. I once heard the story of an eagle, that when an eagle is injured, it will look for a cave. It will find a secluded cave, it will hide itself in there, and then it will beat its wings against the rocks up until it bleeds. And then the feathers will be all over the place. When all the feathers are gone and it can no longer fly, it will wait, it will be injured, and it will just be bloody everywhere. Then it will start to heal. After healing, then the new feathers will begin to grow. And as the feathers grow, it starts to regain its strength. And when it is strong again to fly, then it will go join the other eagles. This it will do perhaps if it's sick, or perhaps if there's something wrong with the eagle. It knows when it realizes it cannot soar with the other eagles, it will go into seclusion and work on what it needs to work with. And then when it is strong, it'll go and soar with the other eagles. Okay, it is another reason I love the eagle. The eagle has got so much significance to me. I love that bird. I'm not into birds, but an eagle, like, yeah, that's the thing. Okay, I love birds, but I'm not into birds. But for me, the eagle just does it for me. It stands out. Okay, so yes, if you're discouraged, if you're disappointment, take time. Take it easy. It's not a matter of you now crawling, getting things done, even crawling on your belly. No. Take a break, take a breather, gather yourself so you can rise up and teach again, so you can rise up and encourage others again. Remember the words of the Lord and remember what He means to you. Thank you, guys. God bless.